Morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. I see you.
Putting you on speaker and no video.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, just stop me. Let me navigate this here the quickest or easiest way possible. All right, share screen. Can everybody see my desktop? Good to go. If you can't see it, let me know.
Good to go.
Okay. All righty. So, oops, hold on. Somebody's having problems with the link. Let me see if I can. Okay. All right. So now hopefully we'll be able to get her in here. Okay. So I guess a little bit of background on me. Oops, wrong button. Is when I worked for an appraiser, I gained my microphone isn't working. Okay, perfect, Megan. That's great. So when I worked for an appraiser for quite a while, about 10 years, we evaluated land a lot. And there's certain things that we evaluated it based upon, such as the soils, the layout. It's land is more than just dirt. There's different types. So we wanted to kind of share that knowledge. It's kind of cool when we go to a listing appointment and these people are very shocked at what we know. They are very surprised to hear that we can, tell them about their land without even being there. Nathan, can you send Crystal the link from the email from yesterday? View, hold on, admit. Okay, hi, Jenna and Amanda. Okay, so what I was saying is that we've learned a lot about land, from working where we've worked for years. And we wanted to share a little bit of that knowledge with you guys because it's definitely advantageous as a realtor to go out to a property knowing as much as you can about the land. So we made a little slideshow. Bear with me as we go through it. This is my maiden voyage on Zoom and sharing my screens on Zoom. So we're going to get through it the best we can. I'll go ahead and start with our first slide. And some of it's stuff that you guys already know. And then we'll kind of get to the whole how to figure out soils classes, how to figure out if there's oil and gas wells on the property and the production of the oil and gas wells on the property. We do want to make sure that you guys know that we're not CE providers. We're just kind of, sharing the knowledge. We want you guys to have the best businesses that you possibly can have. And so we want to be able to help you guys grow your knowledge base so that you can serve your clients the best you can. And so I'm thinking maybe I can go through these slides this way, maybe not. There she goes. We got Crystal. Okay, so some of the things that we talk about when we list land, is it buildable? Are you going to meet all of your minimum setbacks? The size and the layout of it, is it conducive to building on? Does it have clear title? Does it have legal access or road frontage? Sometimes properties are just accessed via right-of-ways, so that's something that we look into too. Is there OGM rights going with it? Does it have a gas well on it? What's the production of it? When was the last time it was serviced? We're able to pull all of that stuff up online, which is super helpful. Utilities, are public utilities available? The location of the property, that makes a big difference when valuing a land property as well. We'll go over those things in detail. There a way to move this? Probably. I don't know. Are you guys seeing that too, that I'm moving around? Probably. My slides are longer. Okay. All right. So is the property buildable? First, you want to check your zoning requirements, see if what they want to build on the property can be used for that. Kind of an interesting story to lend to this particular detail. My parents own some land that they've owned. They didn't purchase it, but they are building a wedding venue on it. And it's not zoned for that. Their zoning officer had given them permission, but now they're kind of going back on their word. They had to apply for a variance or a special exception to get the wedding venue to be allowed to put on the property. So that's something that when somebody's buying, you want to check and make sure that you can put on the property what you want to put on the property. Minimum setbacks. So if the property is only 50-foot wide and you want to build a 40-foot home, is it going to be within those setback guidelines? You'll want to check on that if there's adequate access for the equipment to get to the build site. And are there limiting factors such as a creek or a large body of water or hills, or the lay of the land just isn't conducive to getting a driveway back to the back of the property? We've come across that. That has a lot to do with value as well. Wait for the next slide. Okay, so the size of the parcel, establishing the size of the parcel can be difficult. Sometimes you'll need to get a survey. There's a couple local surveys, they're usually a while out. So if there is a question, I would definitely get them in earlier rather than later. I would check your deeds. Sometimes your deeds do not have very good descriptions, and title companies will require that a survey be done because of the vagueness of the meets and bounds descriptions. The surveyor is the one who actually writes the meets and bounds descriptions. So it's kind of a fun fact that I've learned over the years. Oop. Okay, soil types. I think this is probably the most fun part. I'm kind of a nerd, so I find this interesting. There are different types of soils. You can map each soil or each parcel to determine the soil's types, the slope, the absorption capability, the depth to the water table, or the likelihood of passing a perk test. So part of what I do when I go out to list a piece of land is I pull up an aerial map, I find the property boundaries, and then I go into my soil survey website, so to speak, and I figure out what the soils are and if you'll be able to possibly perk for a septic, what the lay of the land is. I usually have a pretty good grasp about all of the details of the land before we even get there. And that is something that I will show you here on how to do that. So you'll go to your internet, and I have all of these attachments for you that I will email you after the fact. So I have, it's called Web Soil Survey is the website that we use to do it. And click on start Web Soil Survey. And so this will have a little participation from everybody, but does anybody have a larger, maybe 20 plus or 10 even acres of land that they own or that they're very familiar with that I can look up for somebody? If not, I'll can use, somebody I know, but it's always fun when we have somebody else that knows another property that we can kind of throw out there and they can see that they can relate to the aerial maps of it. So does anybody have any parcels that they are particularly fond of or no?
I do have 35 acres on Old Valley Road.
Okay, do you have the address?
No, because it's all at my desk and I came home for a minute. So
oh, you're cool. All right, so what I'll do.
Look in the MLS for empty land on mine.
Okay. Is it active right now? There it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So what I do is whether it's listed or not, I will go to Gboard and then I'll get an aerial map and I can slide to where I need to be. If I don't have the address, because a lot of times lands don't have addresses,
right.
Or vacant land doesn't have address, I'll slide, I have a relative general idea of where the parcels are. I can figure out from there. So I'll find it. And then what I will do is get the lot dimensions of it and I will print that that picture. So I'm going to print it to my printer here. So you'll have this at your desk when you're doing this, but keep that in mind. Is it printing? There it goes. Okay. So you'll want to start with an aerial map that has the property boundaries on it. The address was 16790. So you'll type in the address. Is that Union City zip? That was right. Oops. Other way. Yeah. So it'll put it where it's at. Is it printed? Printing awfully slow if it is. There it goes. Okay. Probably because I have the computer hooked to my TV here too. Okay. So I have the map with the lines on it. So what I'm going to do, and you can usually see the differences in field shapes or the differences in lines. I'm going to click this AOI, that stands for area of interest. And your parcel happens to start right here. And it goes back beyond this. You can tell from the map, it goes back to this property line. It goes down to where this line is. So you'll want to draw a straight line down. And sometimes you have to tinker with it a little bit. And this one happens to be a pretty easy shape to do. How many acres did you say it was? 35? So this is another fail safe that I've come to figure out. So if I list a property in the lovely county of Crawford or Warren, sometimes they do not require surveys with subdivision. And so I frequently, oh, this is covering up my measurement tool. I frequently find that the measurements for the parcels aren't actually what is there. There is often more land there than what the tax assessment says. And honestly, Lori, I'm thinking this one is one of those situations. Do you know if they've ever had a survey done?
They did. And if you cut it back to where they did, and it is 35, I had them actually pull the deed because I did the same thing. I came up with more acreage than what's
Okay,
there.
yeah. So does it go to this line only?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. If okay, so
Yep.
we'll follow that tree line there.
Yep, that's it.
But it's a good fail safe. It's a good, you notice something's wrong when you go into these. There you go, 34.3. And obviously, I mean, if you tweak it little bits here and there, you might be able to get closer to your actual acreage. But you'll see why it doesn't particularly matter all that much when you get into the mapping of it. So once it's mapped, this is your area of interest. This is what it's going to show you soils for. So if you click on this soil map, okay. All right, you'll be able to see all of your soil types. The first two letters in the soil type, or in what you're seeing here, are the actual soils types. The third letter is the slope of the land. So, and I don't know if you've been out there, Lori, but
Yeah.
so the
Crazy.
front, or recently I should say, the front of it seems to be pretty level, and then it starts to go back to a hill. And then it looks like the back of it's pretty level too. A B slope is barely rolling. A C slope is a decent hill, whether it be down or up. We can't really tell that from this, but there may be a little bit of a divot in the middle of this parcel, so to speak. And so that's something that we're able to tell from these maps. And people are always shocked when you go out for a listing appointment, you bring this with you and you say, all right, do you have a ravine back here? They're always shocked that there's a ravine 40 acres back in their woods, because that third letter will be an F. F slope is usually a ravine. You'll be able to see waterways. So if this was all an F slope in the middle here and there was a creek going through it, you would pretty much guarantee that's a ravine there. So your different soils types. So your Venango is your majority of it. It's going to be your Venango, silt, loam. Silt means sand, loam means clay, typically. It will be able to tell you if you click on the unit descriptions, what the distance to the water table is. So the depth to the water table is about 6 to 12 inches before you start hitting some pretty mucky, water. It will tell you the most important thing about all of this, which is this right here, the land capability classification. So the 3 soils are classed technically 1 through 7. 1 being phenomenal, never seen a 1 ever. Not around here anyway, and I've done a lot of parcels. And then a 7 is like a ravine. It's nothing that is, able to be planted or, put a soils or a perk test in or a septic. So class 3 would be considered what's called borderline. You may be able to put a septic system there, you may not. If I see silt loam, you're probably not going to perk for a standard in-ground septic system. You very well could put in a mound system, but you want to see, I'm trying to find one, Red Hook is just a silt loam too. You want to look for something that says gravelly. I don't think any of these are gravelly. I'll do another parcel here in a minute to give you an example of a gravelly one. But so this is your soils map. So when I go to clients, I bring them that. I go to my shopping cart. I usually leave all of this marked the way it is. I have to slide this out of the way to make it so I can. And then I'll hit checkout. 9 times out of 10, your pop-up blocker is on for this particular web page for some reason, and it'll tell you your pop-up blocker is on. I don't know if it'll do it on here because I've already undone it so many times. And it'll pop up right up here in your browser, and you just have to click on the little X there and fix it. It'll tell you always, you can click the box, this is always allowed from this web page. So this is what it's going to give you. It's going to give you NRCS soils report, which again, pretty impressive when you go to your client who has 100 acres and you're like, hey, I know all about your land. I have all of the details about your land. And they will give you all of the details about how soils are determined. They'll give you the map of the soils. They'll give you the percentage of what the makeup is. And then you're okay. If you walk over there, it's not gonna. And then it'll give you the descriptions for each soil class that are there. Again, you want to look for the number. So this is a class 4. It's not going to perk for anything. Probably not the greatest land for growing anything either. And this is used to help determine the highest and best use for the land too, because if it's really crappy soils and it's a field and you want to, if they want it for crop production, if Troyers are looking for a piece of property to grow soybeans on, they're not going to want something that's not great. Most of these are going to be class 3. Nope, there's a 7. So your Towerville, if you go to TVF, there's a ravine somewhere on this property. Where is that? Oh, in the back corner, you can barely see it down there. So this back here must be a ravine. So let me get to the bottom of this here. And it gives all of your references. I will print this report and I will take it with me when I do my listings for anything that has any kind of acreage to it. People really tend to like that when you show up there. Let's go back to this. I guess I should ask, does anybody have any questions on soils mapping? No? Okay. We'll move forward then. Much less time between my slides next time, note to self.
Is this available to everybody or just you in the closing company business?
No, it's available to everybody.
Okay.
Nope,
Perfect.
it's a online program. So I have like a slideshow that I printed and put into like detailed instructions. Actually, Nate, can you grab that for me? Perfect. I'm going to email it to everybody. Yep, that one. Yeah, and it's free. You don't have to sign up for anything to do it. Oh yeah, even though it says shopping cart, it's free. Good
okay.
Point. So I have very detailed with screenshots of where to click that I will send to everybody so that you have it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and it's nice for buyers too. So when we go look at land, and we, you know, are looking at it for a buyer, it's nice to have this with us to say, we don't want to, it's a snowstorm and the weather isn't great for walking the property. We can tell them that, we see a CM on the map and it means Carlisle muck. We know that that whole back of the parcel is a swamp without looking at it, without aerial maps, without anything other than just looking at the soil. We know that back there is completely unwalkable.
Does it have anything to do with, does it say wetlands or anything either on there? Any restrictions?
It will tell you. So there's actually a lot more to the soil survey website. It's a lot to get into.
Sure, that's okay. That's fine.
No,
I just didn't know if it was.
I can kind of show you different things, little bits here. So you go to Soil Data Explorer and it'll tell you what the capability for building dwellings with basements. And I will tell you, 9 times out of 10 tells you cannot build on them, even though they are wrong, because we do full basement foundations. We're more than, aware of the soils here, and we build to accommodate them. So there's different things that you can check by using this website. There's a lot of things. I've tinkered with it over time, but you can really pull up a lot of different details. It's kind of a cool website if you really get into it. It'll give you all of the acidity of the soils, and yeah, and there's the definition page that kind of gives you an example or an explanation of all the different types of soils and what they mean and what they're made up of. So if you tinker, if you're a nerd like I am, you'll love it.
And then tell me, so I'm in here, tell me what the access is. Is it websoilsurvey.com or which one is it?
I go to the easiest way to do it if you don't have it saved, it's just to go to Google and type in web soil survey, and it'll bring you to this page.
Got it. That's the one I've got. Okay, perfect.
And you hit start WSS. So you just save it to your desktop, and that's also in the slideshow. So I'll send that as well.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's not just Crawford, Erie, Warren. It's all of America. I mean, you can look up anything. The next thing that we get questions as from a title agency capacity about oil and gas. They're like, can you tell us if there's a gas well on the property? Well, so there's a big long explanation, but for shortness, there can be 2 different chains of title for every property. So say that, Bob and Sally owned it since 1960. And in 1961, Bob and Sally decided to sell off their oil and gas rights. And Bob to Tom. And Bob and Sally also sell the property to John. It then creates 2 different chains of title. So when we do our title search that goes back 65 years, it will only catch the one where it went to John. Where it's sold to Bob, it will not catch that because it creates a different chain of title. And so my short answer to agents when they call is, well, let's check the website and see if there's any gas wells on the property, and we'll kind of go from there. To move this thing on my desktop so I can open it. All right, so then if you just go to Google again and type in oil and gas mapping, which the exact web page is on your a slideshow that I'll give you. It's the Pennsylvania Department of the DEP, basically, website. You hit continue. So this one, you cannot type in a specific address. So you have to just zoom to your property. And so Valley Road, Old Valley Road, somewhere out here. Okay, so I go through and I select everything. And I hit select all, submit request. There must be nothing out there. There we go. There isn't anything out there. So there's no, unless your property is up here. So you'll see all these little dots all over the place, and it'll tell you which each dot means. But if you click on topographic, not topographic, I'm so sorry, imagery, aerial imagery, it'll give you an idea. And it might not load. It's not going to load. It'll give you a better idea of where your parcel is. But if you click on the info and you click on the little dot, it'll tell me that, oh, it'll also tell you who owns the well. So if you have questions about the gas wells, you can call these people. So Diversified owns this particular well. It'll give you the permit number, the issue date, the expiration date of the permit. Has it been plugged? And then it'll go through and it will give you like when it was last inspected, who it was inspected by, if there was any violations. And then if you click on the production reports, which I'm going to be honest, I can't get it to load because it's a lot. But if you click on the production report, you can actually bring up the production for the well, when it was, how, I guess I should say, how much it's produced, if it's produced, or when it last produced. Does that make sense? And then this one over here is a plugged one, I believe. So this is a plugged gas well. It's just extra information to take when you go to list a property or when you're going to show a property to say, hey, I know where this is or where that is. I guess it's about having the most information you possibly can for your showing. Any questions on oil and gas mapping? And you can also look at topography maps on here as well, by the way. So you'll be able to tell the lay of the land there. If you don't know how to read a topography map, the closer together the lines are, the more steep of a hill it is. Apparently you can't zoom in. The further away, the more level it is. So there's probably a ravine in through here on Old Valley Road. And I'm guessing your parcel is probably right in here, Lori. Okay.
Yeah. I did look. I don't think there's a oil and gas on there, but if you find one, then it'll be a surprise. But I think I did look.
There isn't. It's, okay. I think I'm pretty darn sure your parcel is right here.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah.
Because there's that little T Towerville that was in the bottom corner.
Right.
And so the nearest gas well is this one by Diversified, and it's not connected to this. I mean, they could very well have vertically drilled and pooled it, but doubtful.
Right.
Okay. So. They're super long slides. I showed you the topography mapping. You can just go to this nationalmap.gov and topography map there if you don't want to use the GIS mapping for oil and gas, but I prefer the one on the oil and gas website, which is kind of handy. Marketable title. So there's a difference between marketable title and insurable title. Marketable title, you could have, marketable title that you can sell, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's insurable. And Megan is happy to answer any questions that you have about marketable or insurable title. Most of the time it is insurable. There's very few situations where it's not. I know we all get these answers back from attorneys and closing companies all the time that says there's a title issue, we need to take care of it. A lot of times it's something that's very curable. And that was kind of one of the reasons why Nathan and I and Megan went off and did this. We want to be able to inform agents of the full picture and how the solutions are made so that they can also relate that to their buyers and sellers so that there's not, panic sometimes, and that we all know the answers to the questions as they arise. Yeah, Megan can answer any title questions, but she's actually in closing right now. So timber value, when there's a lot of timber on the property, it's definitely advantageous to get a timber evaluation. I learned a long time ago, when you value timber, to get a forester versus a timber guy or somebody, or timber gal, somebody who cuts the wood or buys the wood. I've had a few be off by a lot because they're not a disinterested third party. They are in the business of buying timber. Ed Laidlaw is a gentleman out of Wattsburg, very reasonable. I can't remember what he charges, but I know it was pretty darn reasonable. It kind of depends on the size of the parcel. But he will give you a very disinterested third party number. He does not buy timber. He doesn't just go into the wood with a prism. Don't even know what that really means, but I know that it's not very accurate. He'll actually go and do counts, which I appreciate. Yeah, he's completely unbiased. So that's important. I want to know that there's not $50,000 worth of timber there. The shape of the parcel obviously has a lot to do with the value as well. A bowling alley parcel is what I call them, are definitely worth less than a really well laid out rectangular parcel. If 80% of it's wooded and 20% of it's, not wooded, it's open, it tends to be more appealing. That's kind of important too. A narrow, long parcel has less utility, meaning it's less useful than a rectangular parcel. In the sense that it might limit, like we talked about earlier, your buildability because of setbacks. You want to check and see if there's public utilities available. Most of the time, electric is available at roadside. Some of the times, especially out here in the sticks, there is no electricity even on some roads. So it's a good thing to, especially like Bear Lake area, Warren County, to check and see if there is in fact electricity available. If it's not, how much it's going to cost to have it run there. If there's no poles on the road, that creates an issue. Other structures. So there's kind of this thing of, is a barn on 1 acre worth the same, like a dairy barn on 1 acre? Is it worth the same as a dairy barn on 10 acres? Well, can you farm dairy cows on 1 acre? Probably not. So it's worth more on the contributory value of a building can be worth more if their utility of it is increased or better, should I say. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure that the highest and best use of the site is, equal to that of the structure. There we go. You want to market the strengths versus weaknesses. So if there's a creek bisecting the property in two, or another water feature that causes an issue, maybe go at it from the avenue of, there's great fishing, or you can build a bridge, or it's, picturesque, those kind of things. And you want to market to your buyer based upon all the factors that we discussed. So we find when Nathan and I list anything, we definitely think, who's our end buyer? Who's the person that's going to be buying this? What are they going to be looking for? We market directly to them. We are parts of many, many, many Facebook groups. If we list land, we market it to, we're actually part of like a Pennsylvania State Trooper group, and we market it to them, which we usually get quite a good feedback from. And yeah, and we go to the neighbors. If the properties are worth more than anything to the neighbor. And so that's, kind of our route. We find out who the end user would be and what the highest and best use is, and go find those people and market directly to them. So that's kind of our angle we take on that. You can follow us on social media. There's all of our links. And then I think my last slide is if anybody has any questions. Does anybody have any questions about anything? The soils survey, mapping with oil and gas, how to find an aerial map, anything like that.
You did wonderful. Thank you. That was helpful with the soil stuff, because it's.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps
after a while.
when you go to your listing appointments to be able to say, hey, I have all of this information.
Right, exactly. And it was helpful for even that house. So it was good to know. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody has any land they want me to run, I can definitely run it for them and show them. Oh, this is an important factor.
That's gold
Yeah.
for wildlife. They paid him a very substantial amount for his property.
So if you have wetlands, it's not necessarily not worth anything. I would definitely approach the Conservancy and the Pennsylvania Western Conservancy and see if they're interested in it. They're all about. They do. They take a long time. However, they do put their money where their mouth is a lot of times.
What they do is they get a contract ready, and then they go out and they raise the money.
Yeah, they raise the funds to buy it. Can you guys hear him? I'm not sure if you can hear him. The other thing is that there's all kinds of easements or like there's the Ducks Unlimited. So if you have property that has a ton of water through it, or even just lots of, different bodies of water on it, Ducks Unlimited may very well purchase an easement. You would still own the property. However, they'd have an easement, like a conservation easement on it, which means that you just have to leave it as it is. You can't develop it. There's all kinds of different stipulations. But those are just some ways to possibly, get money out of it or sell it. If somebody's not interested in completely selling it, they need some cash, they may look into an easement from maybe like Ducks Unlimited or something similar. There's all kinds of easements that you could look into. So yeah, is there anything else that I missed? No? Okay. I will email everybody the packets with the web addresses and the instructions on how to use Web Soil Survey. We're always here to help answer questions. And if anybody needs to know, how to work it, or if they have any questions once they get in there, because once you get in there, sometimes you get confused and it just doesn't work the way you think it's going to. We're happy to help. And then our next seminar is about manufactured homes. There's a lot of details that go into them. What do you do if you can't find the title? What do you do if the data plate and the labels aren't there? We have ways to get all of those things. So we can go over that at our next meeting. I think that it'll be a really good one. So we'd love to have you guys all there too. Let me know if you have any questions. We're good. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And next time I'll do it at my office. It was just so crazy and noisy. Maybe I'll put it on the big screen. So that would be helpful too. So you were very
happy to go. Like if you guys have office meetings, we are happy to go and present to your entire office and, share it onto your big screen, kind of how we did via Zoom. So you guys can actually see how to do it. We've definitely had a lot of feedback on the land thing. People really like the soils aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. I'm really not a lot of us do the county stuff, but from our office, but it definitely was helpful. So maybe that would be something we could do too. But next time I will do it and put it on our screen in our office. So everybody sells mobile homes. So perfect.
Oh yeah, we can do the mobile home one there too. Yep.
I know. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye. I think I got it.